for most people, differentiation is the biggest problem they're actually dealing with. Because most people don't realize that if you're indistinguishable, you're equally replaceable. So a question you have to ask yourself on your journey to create wealth is, how indistinguishable have I become? And what ultimately, if that's the case, has to be done? Because nobody wants to be replaceable. You don't want to be replaceable by a colleague. You don't want to be replaceable by technology. You don't want to be replaceable by a system. You want to make sure that the value you bring to the table is value that people know they have to work with you in order to get. And I think my first warning to you will be, don't compete harder. You see, that's the first mistake people make when they start realizing that their income is at stake. They start attempting to compete harder. Or I'll show up earlier to work. Or I'll leave later from work. Or I'll start this new business and in all my spare time, I'll work. They attempt to compete harder instead of competing differently. Imagine if you stopped attempting to work harder and you started working on working differently. Standing apart. Standing out. You know, most people don't realize that standing out beats fitting in. But so many people spend all their life attempting to fit in. Now they don't even know how they get in. But you have to realize that it's the standing out that makes you stand out. You see, I'll share with you a quick story to help you understand this from my perspective. A number of years ago, I used to host networking events, specifically property investment networking events. And at one point, I had one of the most successful property investment networking events in the whole of the UK. We'd have over 100 property investors attending this event every single God blessed month. And I was doing this for a number of years. And over the years, I would meet landlord after landlord, property owner after property owner, aspiring millionaire after aspiring millionaire. And I started realizing something very interesting about all these people I would meet. Many of these people had many different problems. But there was specific people with a specific problem that I recognized that I was perfectly suited to solve. Okay. Now you might be thinking, Samuel, perfectly suited to solve. How did you figure that? Well, there was a number of reasons. One, my graduate and undergraduate studies. My first undergraduate degree was in computing and statistics. The first master's I studied was a master's in statistics. I then went on to qualify as a teacher, PGCE in secondary and A-level maths. And then I went on to become a teacher trainer and study my master's in teaching. So I had a specific skill set as it pertains to my career. Then outside of my academic qualifications, my specific work, working as an estate agent at the age of 19 in my first full-time job, working in high-level sales in my other jobs, like I had specific seeds that gave me what I need. So one of the skills I had that I brought to the table that I saw was very beneficial for certain problems with certain people inside of the networking environment was I could spot patterns. I could spot patterns very well and very quickly. And I'd often see the same pattern occur with many of these landlords with one specific situation. And the specific situation were the landlords who had £5 or more million in their portfolio worth of property, but they were generating less than 1% of that in their income. I kept spotting this pattern and I kept realizing the problem here is they don't have any portfolio optimization. And I kept realizing that no one around us in the environment was helping them to get that. No one around us was saying, hey, if you've got a portfolio of 10 properties or more, and out of all of those doors, you're not making over £3,000 a month, you've got a financial time bomb waiting to happen and you need help. I never saw anyone tell those people they need help, but I just kept spotting the pattern. So one day I realized when I decided to no longer be the main character, #main character syndrome, I realized that in order to help these people, I had to become an architect of their understanding. I had to start to share with them that I understood their problem implicitly because their problem kept speaking to me. That was my differentiation. Because as a host of a networking event, you've got 100 plus people in front of you and they've got 100 plus problems in front of you. And at the end of every event, every single person wants to talk to you. Every single person wants to speak to Samuel and share with Samuel their situation, their scenario, their setting, and what they're going through. And you can help all of them if you want. Or you can recognize that, hold on a minute, I believe I'm actually called and created to solve this one specific problem which no one else solves or no one else seems to be solving. And I had to become the architect of understanding. So I want you to do a very simple, quick journal notebook task right now. Make sure you got your notepad, iPad, tablet, stylus, pen, paper, everything you need in order to succeed. And do this task with me right now. Just take your pen and write down in your journal, what do I want to become unmistakably known for? What is it that I desire to become unmistakably known for? So known for that no matter what happens going forward, people will say, oh, you need to speak to. Oh, have you spoke to? Hey, that's a job for. What do you desire to become unmistakably known for? What is the thing that makes you different? And maybe even take a moment right now and throw a comment in the comments below that says different, the word different, as a clarion call, as a distinguishment that I'm on the journey of recognizing what makes me distinguishably different. Because for many people, it's different things, but you need to recognize what it is for you. What's the thing that you're going to allow to come through to make you different, to allow you to stand out? Because most people don't realize that differentiation creates demand. The moment I started getting clear on what was different about me, more people started to try to surround me. Because they recognize, oh, he's solving this specific problem and I have this specific problem. Hold on a minute, he can help me with this problem. Let me share a few aspects about this. Problem most people have is most people live in this place called comparison. And the reason comparison is such a problem is because nearly everyone is there. So it's super crowded. And if you understand that wealth is created, value is created based off the key core metrics of business, which are supply or demand, you staying somewhere where everyone is there is you staying in a place with high supply and over time, low demand. So you have to get out of the place of comparison. And how do you do that? You do that through a process called positioning. Now, unfortunately, I'm not telling you a super secret right now because a lot of people understand what positioning is. So as a result, you've got many people who actually do focus on this. So there's still the dichotomy of supply and demand not necessarily working for you in the position of position. So you can come out of the place of comparison. You can get into the place of positioning. But as I've mentioned, many people still stay there. The key is to go a step further. And when you come out of the place of positioning, you want to get to the place where you are focused primarily on your difference. Now, the reason this is beautiful is because this is where the few live. Now, you might be saying, Samuel, where did you get that from? I'll tell you, same place I get everything from. I got that one from the Bible. The Bible has a unique, profound verse. It says, wide is the road that leads to destruction, and many there be upon that road. But then it says the paradox. It says, but narrow is the path that leads to life and godliness, and few there be that are upon that road. And the thing that's interesting is if you take that same dichotomy that was shared in the Bible with you and me and start to realize how it works distinguishably in business, in the creation of wealth, guess what? You will change your financial self. Because you'll start realizing that all of the times you've lived in the realm of financial comparison, you've lived in a place where everyone else is. And the one or two times you decide to step into the place of positioning, you'll realize, hold on, most of the people are still here. But when you tip yourself into and delve into difference, you'll start to see that you will make a difference. And people will literally see you as someone who's completely unrecognizable from the crowd. And this is what very few people do. So this is what fixes the situation for you. If you want to go even further, let me break a few other layers down to this. Because what happens when you start to focus on difference is you start to develop two things which are super astounding. The first thing you develop is a reputation. A reputation for uniquely being different. Why? Because you're the only one who does that thing that's different. And this is what so few people get to build in their lifetime. So few people get to a place in their life where they've built a reputation around their difference. But this is how people end up being known for something, because they've developed a reputation. But let me tell you what marries the reputation. Because after you start to develop a reputation, you start to create your own demand. This is where people are specifically seeking for you and you alone. Why? Because this is in high supply and this is in low supply. So ultimately, it produces demand. And this is what a minority of people build. If you desire to have better results going forward, the key is to focus on difference and allow that difference to build a reputation, allow that difference to develop your demand so that you can start to produce results like never before. Because it's literally the clearer positioning that's going to attract the right audience for you. And whilst people are not focused on shifting their positioning, whilst people are not focused on being clearer on their difference, whilst people are staying in a fog of comparison, you'll be able to develop reputation and ultimately develop your own demand. If this is helpful for you, I want you to throw in the comments the comment, small keys open big doors. Let's go.
Small keys open big doors.